So supporting trans students in 5 steps. What do you guys think the first step is? This is also the easiest step. Any ideas? No.
Wait, no. Asking.
What?
Asking.
Okay, we'll see. Here.
Validating them. No, you want to say?
Yes. Yes, keep on. Respecting trans students. Use a student's preferred name and pronouns. Surprisingly, 50% of trans students were prevented from using their preferred pronouns at schools. A great way to learn a student's gender identity or pronouns is to put a gender identity section on a student information sheet. Most teachers hand those out the first day of school, so you would just put like gender identity, preferred name, and pronouns, and you would learn it that way. Also, most trans students still have their birth name in the school system. So a great way to not like out them or endanger them on the first day of school when you're calling out the roster is to just say the last names, and then later look at the student information sheet and see their preferred name. So gender pronouns. Most trans people use she or he, but a lot of trans people also use the gender neutral pronoun of they and them. A lot of non-binary people use it, and I know it may be weird to use at first, but you get used to it. It's really not that difficult. People think it's this like mind-blowing thing that they, them can be singular, but it can. Okay, when a teacher intentionally does not respect a student's preferred name and pronouns, they are suggesting these things. I know they don't mean it, but they are suggesting it. They're suggesting, I know you better than you know yourself. I want to teach everyone around me to disrespect you. Being who you truly are is an inconvenience to me, and I'm not someone you can trust. Well, I'm not talking about like messing up or mistakes. That's fine.
Thank God.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that. It takes a while sometimes to get used to pronouns and names. But like just not respecting the student and refusing to use the pronouns, this is what you're suggesting to the student. Okay, I wanted to explain the difference between gender dysphoria and gender euphoria. Gender dysphoria is a distress or unhappiness experience because one's gender does not match their sex assigned at birth. A transgender person can feel gender dysphoria when someone uses the wrong name, wrong pronouns, misgenders them, are forced to use the wrong restroom, or can't express the way they wish. And gender euphoria is the opposite. It's the extreme happiness or comfortability experience because a person's gender is being affirmed. A transgender person can feel this way when a person uses the right name, uses the right pronoun, genders them correctly, is allowed to use the correct restroom, and is allowed to express the way they wish. And number 2 is, how do I get there? is having a gay-straight alliance available at all schools. GSA provides a safe space, a support system, resources, and a place to discuss important issues. GSA is a student-led club where LGBTQ+ identified students and allies can come together and support one another. When GSAs are present, trans students have a greater sense of belonging at their school. There are higher percentages of supportive staff, and less derogatory language is spoken about the LGBTQ+ community. And just so you know, that LGBTQ+ is anyone who is non-cisgender or non-heterosexual. The acronym means lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and question.
When I first sponsored a club, GSA in 2003 and 2004 at Laney, we also included students who had parents that were
Yeah, that's totally, it's for anyone, but it's like directed at the community. And number 3 is creating an inclusive classroom. You can post transgender supportive signs and stickers around your classroom, like a safe zone sign, or any of these. allow students to do research papers and projects on transgender topics. I've actually heard of some students where their teachers don't allow them to do projects and papers on LGBT topics. And make sure students understand that everyone deserves respect. Bullying others based on gender identity and expression will not be tolerated. Creating a transgender inclusive environment and becoming a transgender ally all starts off with listening. Listen to the student. This is not about your personal values or opinions. This is about your obligation to support and teach every child. Trust the student. They know themselves better than you do. And the fourth one, I know teachers don't have like control over this, but sometimes principals do. Allow trans students to use the restroom that they feel most comfortable in, and provide a gender-neutral restroom as an option for trans students. They shouldn't be forced to use a gender-neutral restroom, but they should have the option. I know when OB was still the principal, I came out to him and he told me to use whatever restroom he is. I don't know how Miss just lost her name. Mr. Starr. I don't know how Mr. Starr is, but sadly, 60% of trans youth proclaimed being forced to use a restroom of their legal sex, and 60 proclaimed to avoid the restroom completely, which can be extremely detrimental to their physical health. And fifth is become educated and educate others. Bring in professional development and workshops on LGBTQ plus topics and issues. Some great resources is the Trans Student Educational Resource, Human Rights Campaign, GLSEN. They all have like curriculum and workshops. You can go on there and find all these resources. And also the Safe Zone Project is a really cool project. You go on there and you can download a free 2-hour Safe Zone training. So you can do the training yourself at your school. You don't have to pay anything. You just download all the activities and you do it yourself. And then the teachers who come, their classrooms immediately become safe zones. This quote I really like is, "Ongoing learning is a key element in this process. It's important to keep an open mind and always be willing to learn." I mean, your teachers, like, you should always be wanting to learn more. So that's extremely important. So why is having a transgender inclusive school environment important? Because 40% of trans youth do not plan on finishing high school. That is unacceptable. And 85% of trans students feel unsafe at school. And 40% of transgender people attempt suicide in their lifetime. This is an important topic. This is serious. We need to make schools safer for all the students. So as a part of my product, I conducted a survey for local trans students to fill out. They're in middle school, high school, or recently graduated. I got 12 students to do the survey, and they range from ages 14 to 23. And these are the schools that they come from, so very well they could be one of your students. We don't know. And I'm gonna click off this real quick and show you the results I got. Okay, I'm gonna stay over here because there's only certain questions I'm going over. I asked them, did you or do you feel safe coming out as trans to your school? And 4 of them said yes, and 3 of them said no, and 4 of them said other. So that shows how our schools are for trans students. Okay, overall, was coming out at school a negative or positive experience? They all said it was a positive experience. Even though some may claim that they were unsafe, for them it was positive because they could be themselves. And I asked them, how did they feel after coming out at school? Someone said happy, nervous, I felt good, I finally could be myself. Uncomfortable at first, but then it just went back to normal. Scared, but relieved. More at peace, and nothing much has changed. Still apprehensive, but I'm otherwise greatly relieved. Okay, do you think your school is LGBT friendly? And most of them said no or not really. That is not okay. The next one. Have you ever been prohibited from discussing or writing about LGBT topics? Half of them said yes and half of them said no. And do you feel safe discussing LGBT topics in class? And most of them said, it makes me uncomfortable because I'm scared of what others will say. And I personally feel that way. I'm okay with doing it, but I still feel uncomfortable. And then the rest said yes. And have you ever heard negative remarks about trans people from your teachers? And half of them said yes. That is really, for the one part, unprofessional, but that should not be happening. Next question. Sorry, it's at the bottom, I think. Oh, I skipped past it, I'm sorry. Okay, have you ever been verbally harassed because of your transgender identity at school? And 75% of them said yes. Okay, one more. Okay, this one I think is the most important. Have you ever skipped a class because you felt unsafe or wanted to avoid being misgendered or treated unfairly? And even though more of them said no, still 5 of them said they have skipped school. And you can only imagine what a bigger survey, what the results would have been. Like even those 5 students, that's not okay. And then I asked them how many times in one semester have they skipped because they felt unsafe, and one person said 2 to 5. 5, too many to count, and the last one, 2 weeks. That is not okay. They need to be in school learning like every other student. And okay, for this, I asked them to give advice from local transgender students, and I got some of my friends to say what's on the board. So if you give me a second to connect to my speaker, I will play them.
Transgender students to be themselves is very damaging to our mental health. Not only do we feel unsafe in certain situations, but not many people are willing to treat us like humans. We deserve kindness, not hate.
Accept their preferred names and pronouns, and if they don't know them, then use them, they pronouns, because it can get really embarrassing when being misgendered.
It's not a phase or something to brush off, and treating it as such is disrespectful. You can't respect a student one moment and leave them on the hook another. Don't argue with students about their identity or tell them they're wrong. Educate yourself, respect us.
Just treat us like any other student. I am not trying to make waves. I just want to study and get a job. Having a gender-neutral bathroom would be really nice. Middle schools should have the same resources as high schools. Always do research on the subject so you can understand the students more. Listen.
Ask your students what names, pronouns they use. Actually do something about discrimination and hateful remarks towards trans people and the LGBT+ community in general.
Learn to accept one another's differences, regardless if you agree or not.
And the next one is one student's story about a positive and negative experience about being in school. And this person is also a local student.
My experiences as a trans man in high school have varied mainly from wildly disrespectful to surprisingly touching. One teacher, whom I was in class with for over 4 months, continually failed to use the correct pronouns and name, despite repeated requests and corrections, and my own masculine appearance, and outed me multiple times due to my name being different within the system. To make matters worse, she left my legal name on multiple forms visible to all students, with absolutely no regard to the possible danger that could put me in. A simple line of black marker would have done. Contrasting this, a substitute teacher, who circulated through many of my classes once, teaching for almost 2 weeks, was instantly respectful of both my pronouns and name, and made an effort to remember them, and understood that it wasn't a passing request. She was an amiable and understanding substitute, and made my classes when she was teaching them easier on my stress and personal fears.
This is just a longer one.
Opinions and unfair judgments at home. A school is meant to be a safe place for learning. As a professor or an administrator, your job is to ensure a safe learning environment where everyone is welcomed. You are doing a disservice to your students by using your position as an educator as a platform for discrimination, and you are corrupting the values of the institution you represent.